Good afternoon. Welcome to the Berlin Raceway and the ARCA Menards Series Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Zinsser brands proudly race to deliver the best paint products to Menards customers, and we look forward to this exciting event each and every year. So on behalf of all the Zinsser Smart Coat employees and our retail partner Menards, we invite you to sit back and enjoy the Zinsser Smart Coat 200.
Welcome to the ARCA Menards Series Zinsser Smart Coat 200 from Berlin Raceway in Marne, Michigan. And if you called the Wright Township Chamber of Commerce and ordered up some weather, this is exactly what we would ask for. Everyone here at the racetrack has been in a fantastic mood all day because of what you're seeing on your television screen right now. We are standing up in the suites, Krista Kelly and Jim Trado behind door number 3 here atop Berlin Raceway. This is a half-mile paved oval. It races more like a circle. We're going to talk about that throughout the night. But Jim, you walk in, the first thing you notice, there's no wall on the backstretch.
Yeah, I've been here quite a few times, and I'm telling you, this is a place like nowhere else. The groove is different. The racing line is different. You can race side by side for 20 laps. And I've also seen cars a little off the pace, lose a lap or two in the race, and still make it back and contend for the win. It's a great short track with a lot of action I've seen over the years here.
One of your favorites.
Absolutely.
And trust me, he's been pacing all over the place. We can't wait to get this thing started. So that's the what. The what is the racetrack. Let's talk about some of the who, the drivers that you'll be watching tonight. Who do you have your eye on?
We're looking right at the top of the points. Nick Sanchez comes in tied for the point lead after a really strong start to the season. 2 wins already this year, and he's coming back to a track, Berlin Raceway, where he finished 6th last year. I really think the confidence is there. A little bit down after his 7th place finish at Iowa Speedway, but Sanchez has been on a roll all year long thus far for Rev Racing.
And he's so confident, he's sort of methodical, sort of a student of the sport. So is his teammate, Raja Karuth. Raja Karuth drives the number 6. And he really has had a great season, but he's coming off his worst finish of the year. It was a 12th at Iowa. And again, all year has had strong numbers, really doing everything right. But in Iowa, he said they had no lateral grip. He said salvage, though, is the word they use because his competitors had trouble, too. Now, a win this weekend would be special because tomorrow is June 19th. Juneteenth is Freedom Day. He said being a role model to young kids is both an honor and a privilege. He welcomes it. He said he remembers being at Gateway, racing there, and a young man who drove a go-kart said he was started go-kart racing because he saw someone who looked like him on television, being Raja Karuth. So it would certainly be special for him. It's a powerful thing for sure. Of course, the driver that Raja and the whole field will be chasing tonight, last year's winner here at Berlin, the guy, or die, if you will, third member of our team, Mike Massaro, caught up with him earlier.
A year ago, Daniel Dye picked up his first career win, leading 198 of the 200 laps here at Berlin. We describe it as a dominant performance. How would you describe that race?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much that. It was cool to lead all those laps. You know, the car was really, really good, sat on the pole. It was fast in practice all day, just kind of like today. So hopefully we can do the same thing again tonight. I missed 2 laps last year, so I gotta lead 2 more laps than I did last year, but as long as we lead the last one, I'll be happy.
So obviously it seems like you're a little bit, well, very confident, I would say. What do you think's going to happen tonight? A lot of good cars.
Yeah, kind of same deal as last year. I think there's a little more experience here. You know, Jesse Love in the 20 car and Sammy Smith in the 18 car have ran here in a late model before. Jesse ran here last year in this same race, and they both obviously have good equipment and good experience here at this racetrack. So gonna have to be fighting those guys all night.
It's an interesting racetrack. It seems like you're constantly turning. What's it like for 200 laps under those conditions?
Yeah, it's you know, all racetracks have 4 corners, but really this racetrack does have 4 unique turns. You attack turn 1 and turn 2 like they're different corners, and the same thing with 3 and 4. It's just such a goofy place. Not taking anything away from it, it's super, super cool, and it brings all the drivers a challenge, but it's unique. That's a better word for it, and just have to, you know, try and attack it like we did last year. Use the notes that I figured out last year in places that we can be quicker than the other cars in, and as long as we can do what we did last year, we'll be in good shape.
Best of luck tonight.
Thanks, man.
Lots of reason for Daniel Dye to be confident. Starts on the pole once again this year, just like a year ago.
One thing I really liked about what Daniel Dye did last year is he was able to beat and pass Ty Gibbs repeatedly on restarts. He really set the tone, knowing I am a contender now against the driver who dominated last year. He beat Ty Gibbs flat out head-to-head here at Berlin 1 year ago.
You heard him say, though, he needs those 2 more laps. That's what he is looking for tonight. He used the word goofy. We like to think we're a little goofy. If you're goofy at home, we're glad you're along for the ride here on MAV TV.
The ARCA Menards series is brought to you by General Tire. For whatever you do, General Tire delivers. Zinsser Smart Coat. Plan smart, buy smart, paint smart. Zinsser Smart Coat. Available at Menards. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards.
There is a race within the race here in the ARCA Menards series for 10 rounds, Jim. It's the Sioux Chief Showdown Lowdown.
We're only 3 rounds into this, but it's nearly $1 million payday. For these 10 races within the ARCA Menards series, we go to some awesome racetracks. We're heading to Watkins Glen, the Milwaukee Mile, DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. That's a mile dirt track. A great diverse cross-section. 10 races, $1 million. The Sioux Chief Showdown within the 20 ARCA Menards series races.
And I love seeing that because you also see that map, how far and often the ARCA Menards series races all across the country. You talked about the short tracks, the road courses. Really a chance, especially for these young guys who can't necessarily do the big tracks, to have something to race for and a whole lot of pocket change too.
Kyle Weatherman won the first challenge like this when he was just 15 years of age.
There you see the standings. Sammy Smith out to a strong lead, but keep your eye on all of these drivers. Who do you like there, Jim?
Taylor Gray led after winning at Phoenix. We're second race in. He finished 18th. He's now down to 5th in points, 17 points out of the lead. Race points only count in the Sioux Chief Showdown.
Okay, so like we said, it's a race within the race. Today's General Tire Pole Award winner. Want to talk about that? You heard from him earlier in our show. It is the number 43 of Daniel Dye. So strong, Jim, picking up right where he left off last year.
Fastest in practice like last year. Fastest in qualifying like last year. He was one of the last cars to go out here in the field. You could see the sun was setting. It was a warm day, but not too warm. Might be one of the coolest days. And for that team, everything clicked. It was right time, right temperature for Daniel Dye and Chad Bryan and that team for GMS to back up their pole run from a year ago.
And earlier, we heard Mike Bissaro talk to Daniel Dye. He also wants to tell us about another driver that we should have our eye on tonight. Mike?
Yes, Krista, and that's Sammy Smith. Last week following Iowa, his body language said it all. His shoulders were slumped, his head was down. He desperately wanted to win in front of his hometown crowd, and he came very close. He led 64 laps, but finished second. He told me afterwards he was frustrated and disappointed by that run, but he learned valuable lessons. Lessons he said he will use tonight as he searches for his first career win. He rolls off second in a very fast race car in a race that has produced first-time winners in each of the last 3 years. Krista?
Shows you how much it means. You finish second, and yet Mike's talking about the shoulders slumped. It's how bad they want it.
Yeah, Sammy's done a lot of winning in his lifetime. 12 races in the ARCA Menards Series East, 6 wins there in a championship. They're racing with us 2 more times this year to determine their championship. And Sammy Smith is now 18 years of age. We're going to see him a lot here on MAV TV, racing the big tracks, racing all over as much as he can, mixed in with 8 Xfinity Series races. So this driver has a lot of attention put on him, a lot of pressure, I would say, as well. So if Sammy's winning or nothing, mindset is there. It's very evident that he wants to win desperately and desperately soon here in this series for the first time.
And has some experience here in that late model that some of these other drivers in the field do not have. So that could play to Sammy's advantage. In case you were wondering, let's take a look at the 411 presented by Lucas Oil. Talked about just under a half mile. We call it a half mile. It is a true short track. We're going to talk a lot about how you said it races like a circle.
It's sneaky. You go into turn 1 differently than you go into turn 2 anywhere else. In turn 3, the run from turn 2 to turn 3, that's where the magic happens. And we're going to have a couple of race breaks here today, laps 75 and 125, to let these teams figure it out and throw 6 new General tires at that car.
Okay, I'm not great at math. That's why I went into television. But that means there's going to be 75, then another 50 laps, then another 75 at the finish. So there's a lot of strategy going into this race.
Laps 65 to 75. Keep your eye on who's moving forward, who's steady, because that's going to duplicate when we go to the end of the race. Get your stuff and keep it for the end.
And we have that sun sort of starting to set. It's right behind our shoulders. If you had the charts, by the way, that Jim and I have in our hand, Jim has them flying all over the place. So many stats. I do want to mention Sammy Smith. He has those wins this year, but it's in the East Series. He is still looking for his first National Series win.
Yeah, it's going to come soon. That team's really good. That's the team Ty Gibbs was with last year. Hey, Sammy was with this team last year, too. He won his races last year with Mark McFarland and this entire ARCA Menards team when he ran out east.
By the way, those are our neighbors. You see all those folks up there in the suites, the folks in the stands. It is such a party atmosphere here at Berlin Raceway, and these folks have perfect weather for racing under the lights. It's going to be a fun show, that's for sure. There's our neighbors. Jim's waving. I don't know if you can see that, but
I'm in one of those windows.
But they've had some local racing going on right before the ARCA Menards series, so they've already had a race under their belts, these fans, to watch.
Strong NASCAR weekly track. They're bringing in ISMA modifieds. They're bringing in a whole lot of different series to entertain these fans on a given Saturday night. I love this racetrack and what they're doing.
Well, before we can tell you who wins this race, we have to turn those 200 laps. And before you can do that, we need those famous words. Here is tonight's command.
On behalf of our retail partner Menards, let's get the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 underway. Drivers, start your engines!
It's another short track special under the lights. We're short track racing throughout the summer here on MAV TV in the ARCA Menards series. Daniel Dye is on the pole. A strong field under the lights. We can't wait to bring it for you. It'll happen when we come back to Marne, Michigan, home of the Berlin Raceway. Welcome back to Berlin Raceway, site of the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 for the ARCA Menards series, race number 7 on the season. Let's take a look at the General Tire starting grid. We told you Daniel Dye is on the pole. There you see alongside him, Sammy Smith. We heard from both of them. Jim, Jesse Love, another strong young kid, and Taylor Gray.
Great young talent. Tom Hestert back in the ARCA Menards series will line up in the 5th position for Venturini Motorsports. Point co-leader Nick Sanchez qualifies 6th next to his teammate, or 1 spot better, I should say, than Raja in 7th.
All right, Amber Belkin rounding out the first 4 rows, taking a look a little bit further back in the field. Greg Van Alst, they talked to him today, has a strong car tonight.
Yeah, a lot of great racing going on here. A lot of newcomers here. Dallas Frua and Rita Thomason making their debuts in the ARCA Menards series. And we're getting word now that one car scheduled to go, Ed Pompa, they had an engine issue. They blew the engine before qualifying. They're now a scratch for the night for Andy Hillenberg in that 11 team.
Okay, you saw Brad Smith, by the way, they're starting 16th. Just a shout out to him. He's from Michigan, so he's the hometown guy tonight here at Berlin.
Ready for my first nugget?
Oh, always, yes.
7 of the 16 winners at Berlin Raceway are Michiganders.
Ooh, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of first-time winners.
Yeah.
Michiganders, that's how you say that.
Yep, I looked it up and everything. So I asked my phone how to say that. Michiganites. I don't know if that's the way. Nah, I'll stick with Michiganders.
How about the General Tire track information? And there you see some of that history. Yeah, they've been racing here at Berlin back since the 50s.
Yeah, they paved the track in 1966 in this configuration, and it's like nowhere else. We talked about the no backstretch wall. A lot of short tracks, though, were dirt tracks initially, like this one. But when it comes to the surface here, it's worn out. But the racing itself is awfully good. They can go down to the apron, they can go out to the outside. But momentum and that circular motion and that rhythm of tugging the left side of that wheel down, down, down with your left hand, that's part of the rhythm and the magic of Berlin Raceway.
Okay, I was going to give you my first nugget, but first let's take a look at the onboards we have. We have an insider's perspective tonight. We'll ride along with the number 17 of Taylor Gray, General Tire, on board his machine. Also, Jesse Love, the number 20, racing with the Richmond Water Heaters.
We got a great shot. Great shot looking at the first 3 rows here. That's Greg Van Alst in the Sioux Chief onboard camera for the veteran out of, the rookie now out of Anderson, Indiana. I say veteran because he's been around this track a few times himself in a late
Drives
model.
the hauler here, right?
Yeah, and home. He's taking it home tonight.
And also on board with Daniel Dye, that number 43. Right now it's a view of the pace car because he is out front. He is our pole winner tonight. My nugget, by the way, Berlin Raceway. You wonder, why is it called Berlin Raceway if it's in Marne, Michigan? Because Marne used to be called Berlin. They changed the name. Back during World War, there was some, anti-war sentiments going on, so they changed the name to Marne, Michigan. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
You probably did.
I did not know that.
I want to know your keys. What are your keys to Berlin Raceway?
There's a lot of things to figure out here, and some drivers never do. But my keys, power down. Make sure you can power the gas pedal. The tires can spin easily here. You need to be able to put that power down when you want to. Also, the setup for the passing starts in turn 2 on the exit. So getting to turn 1 to exit turn 2 to get a chance to pull under a driver is key. And when turn under in turn 2. And if you could diamond that 3 and 4 just right, you can get under a car off of turn 4 to drag race them down the front stretch into turn 1. And they got to give you that inside line.
And waving the green flag tonight, a friend of the ARCA Menards series, Casey Wagner, his last race. That's exciting.
11-year employee. He's moving on to a different position. It's with heartfelt thanks to Casey Wagner and all the team, Mark Gundrum included, all the team over the years helping us on MAV TV, bringing these live races. This is Casey's last race at a racetrack as an ARCA employee.
What a special way for him to go out waving the green flag as you see the cars rounding through turn 3. Top Gun, one of the biggest movies of the year. Is there a Maverick in the field? What about an Iceman? Drivers are prepared for takeoff. Fans, get ready. They will take your breath away. They are about to do just that. Here at Berlin, green flag is in the air. Nice job, Casey. Daniel Dye keeps that lead, but look at Sammy Smith along the outside, has to tuck in. Daniel Dye stretches it out.
Sammy really tried to keep on that right rear quarter panel. Daniel Dye, number 1, to keep Dye lower on the track because there is a lot of racing room, but on the backstretch, without that backstretch wall, if you're on the outside, you want to pinch the driver down on the inside so you don't run out of asphalt, literally on the backstretch.
Look at Daniel Dye, the way he takes the lead out of turn 3, really stretching things out.
Strong runs here. We see that stalling at the wheel already. The number 15 of Tom Hesser. Right there behind the number 20, his teammate Jesse Love. Hesser's done a really nice job. This is one of his better racetracks at over 180 starts in the ARCA Menards series. Hester last time here won the pole position and led the first 108 laps. So as we're in the mix of his run, he's right behind what we're doing on board with Jesse Love right here in the Richmond Water Heaters 20.
And we are just 3 laps in. The drivers all talk about tire fall off. You see the battle there between the 20 of Jesse Love and that number 15. How soon will it be before they really start to feel that?
They're trying to get as much as they can. Tom Hester's not done yet. He knows Jesse Love wants to get in a rhythm, but Tom wants to get position back. That number 15 car started 5th on the inside, did not have the best of starts. Jesse Love prides himself on restarts, had a great run there. So this could take a few laps. This is not an easy pass racetrack. This could take 5, 6, 7 laps, giving each other respect and room. I like Hester's line in the bottom right now, Krista, keeping it below the yellow line all the way down on the apron off of turn 4.
And those are teammates. Venturini Motorsports, so strong here in the ARCA Menards series. But really, do you feel like they don't have the results, at least this season, that they probably thought they would have?
You know, in reality, they only had 2 wins here at Berlin Raceway in all the years we've been coming here. So certain racetracks, they shine. Daytona, awesome. They work on their different programs on a given year. This year, they're focused on getting young drivers that have less experience than they've ever had, I'd say, in the last 5 or 6 years, comfortable. Jesse Love's in the car that Corey Heim won with at Daytona and Talladega this year. So, or excuse me, at Daytona this year.
Wow, look at how that was tight racing there. 15, Tom Hesser, the 17, that's Taylor Gray behind him in that black 17.
Right there on the tail, we're on board now with Taylor Gray, the Ford Performance driver in the black number 17, closing in on Hesser's 15 Toyota.
And Taylor Gray, one of only 2 drivers in this field who has a win in the ARCA Menards National Series this year. Nick Sanchez being the other one with 2 wins.
Came in the Sioux Chief Showdown opener at Phoenix Raceway. Taylor's done a lot of racing. He's going to race as many NASCAR Camping World Truck Series races as he can this year. He's racing for the K&N Pro Series, now the ARCA Menards Series East Championship. And racing here as many times as he can. He's just 17 years of age. He can't race everywhere like Sammy Smith's kind of got that release to do now that he's 18.
That's back out front with the leader, Daniel Dye, in the number 43. He is your pole sitter, 9 laps in, continuing to lead here at Berlin.
Let's take a watch. Let's just watch Daniel here for a lap or so. Watch what he does on his run. Really nice, just letting that car track out, keep on rolling.
This is the 03 of Rita Thomason. Such an interesting story. She has so many layers to her story. As we take a look at the Bounty Rookie Spotlight, she is a patrol sergeant, and you talked to her about this in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
So she's in the home of the University of Alabama, Crimson Tide. She's one of 300 people in her patrol unit and the only female. Great story here is she sold her Spec Miata to race in ARCA. She wants to race in the truck series so bad, but she knows this is where she needs to start in stock car oval racing.
And you see there on the graphics, yes, she is bisexual. She talks openly about that. Just the second LGBTQ female to compete in a NASCAR race.
Yeah, such a great story. She's worked really hard at this, 2, 3, 4 different jobs just to fund the chance to go racing here in the ARCA Menards Series. We'll see her a couple more times this year as well.
Back on board with Daniel Dye, the leader. 13 laps into this 200-lap race. Sammy Smith, about 2 seconds back.
That blue tube you see hanging there, that's not from the thrill ride down the street with a fancy straw. That's actually his drink straw. It gets hot in these race cars. Daniel at Talladega, for example, he got out of the car third and nearly collapsed. So I think this hydration portion of what Daniel's doing, and I saw him with his suit at his waist, he's working out. Daniel Dye is taking this run for a championship extremely seriously here with GMS Racing and the assets he has now working with the Chevrolet folks.
And I know we can give you all the stats, all the pictures, but we can't really tell you the feelings of the heat. You see the sun on your screen. It is not a humidity temperatures here. It's a dry heat, but it's still hot inside those race cars.
But for Berlin Raceway, this is a glorious day of 75 and sunny, because I've been here when it's 95 and miserable, and the humidity was about 120%. So this is a great night of racing. The fans have turned out, and he's clicking off these laps. This can go by quickly here. 200 laps on this short track can really fly if you have a car like Daniel Dye does right now.
So smooth as he moves up the racetrack. Want to tell you about the Reese's Sweet Move of the race. Throughout the race, we're going to vote. We're going to actually give you 3 nominees for the Reese's Sweet Move, and then we need you to do the rest. You're going to jump on Twitter at ARCA_racing starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow and vote for your winner.
As these guys are clicking away, keep in mind anything can happen here. I mentioned Tom Hestert led from the pole last time here. He led the first 108 laps, had a great car just like Daniel Dye does tonight. That was in 2018. Lap 112, though, a lap car, and Hestert got together. That really ended Tom's night. He finished 7th, but he said, man, I had such a good car that night, but traffic is so important to get through cleanly lap after lap here at Berlin Raceway.
I love this shot, too. Look at this overhead shot we're able to provide to you. It's beautiful. And watch Sammy Smith in that 18, and there's number 15 of Tom Hestert that you were just talking about. Back for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah, the Lucas Oil Chopper showing Tommy going around the racetrack. He and his dad are back here at the track. Love seeing those guys. Such great energy and personalities. They got to road race together. They're now back at the track racing together in the Hestert Cars HesterCars.com number 15. Tom's now running the only dealership the family has right now in Philly. His dad's taking a lesser role, but Tom now is taking charge, and he's also got 4 boys on their way through. They're 6 years and younger, so Tom's got a lot going on right now. So it's great to see him back in the series.
That's a lot of scheduling to take care of. Can't imagine that grocery bill. 4 boys, oh my.
All right, here we go. That's Sammy Smith. We thought he would check out, but no, here comes Tom Hestert. That white car in the 15, that's for position number 2. Hestert looks low.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Found his spot and took it. Could that be a Reese's Sweet Move of the race?
Let me go. I'm coming through. You want to make it hard or easy, Sammy? Great clean pass by Tom Hestert. Yeah, that's on the early list of candidates for certain for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race.
That was the battle for second. So Tom Hestert now, what a great way to return to racing, too. Return to the ARCA Menards series. As we said, the first time back in 4 years at a track he's had success at, knows certainly how to get around, and is able to get around Sammy Smith there for the 2nd position on the racetrack.
And Sammy's being really smart about this. He knows he has no starts here. He's learning as he goes. These cars race differently than super late models. They're bigger, they're wider, they're heavier, they don't brake as well. And Tom Hestert, I'm telling you, he's been in ARCA Menards Series cars more than anything else. And when he gets a chance to race at tracks he likes, like we'll see him a few more times this year, this is his 9th, actually 10th race at Berlin Raceway. He ran 9 straight races. Finished 4th twice and 5th once. So I'm telling you, he knows how to get it done here at Berlin Raceway. Let that car go. Great job by Sammy Smith to just say, you know what, if you want a better car and want the spot, I'm going to learn from what Tom Hestert's been able to do here at 9 prior times.
And here we're watching the number 20 of Jesse Love. Jesse Love currently running 4th on the racetrack.
All right, the Lucas Oil Chopper is doing a great job showing us that this track is not like anything else you have seen. We don't go down to the bottom of turn 1, wrap the inside line, and power back up on the outside of the backstretch. No, we touch and go. We're turning the wheel all the way around. So right now, Jesse Love with the number 20, JBL Toyota. He's actually got the turn left all the way around the racetrack, even through traffic here, trying to get by Tony Breidinger here and getting that pedal down off of turn 2. He could spin his tires easily there, and Taylor Gray could make up 5, 6, 7 spots and get a look like he just took there to the inside.
Well, we're watching the number 20 from atop the racetrack, but Mike Massaro, you have an even closer look. What's happening down there?
Well, yeah, I was just paying attention to what Jim was explaining about this racetrack. It's essentially a microcosm of what Jesse Love told me just after practice. He said today, he really needed to put his thinking cap on during practice, had to dissect every little inch of this racetrack because every turn is a little bit different. He had to really try to figure it out, and that's what he's doing right now. The crew, before the race started, told him to take care of his equipment. Essentially, that's what he's doing right now.
Mike, what is a microchasm?
It's a small snippet of something. I learned it in science class back in 8th grade, but I've since forgotten.
But had Mike Massaro, young Mike Massaro in 8th grade, known that he would apply that to ARCA Menards Series Racing here in 2022.
I'm sure
kids,
it was in there somewhere, Mike. Nice job bringing that out tonight at Berlin.
you just never know. Kids, stay in school, listen to your teachers. You never know when you're going to need something like that. A snippet, if you will.
I thought he said Sniglets.
No, snippet.
Right.
I thought he said Skittles. No.
Oh, yeah. Now you got me thinking about Reese's and
I
Reese's
know.
Pieces.
I think that Tom Hessert move on Sammy Smith might be one of those nominees.
Now look at how we're slicing through here. These cars are faster at this point in the race. They have to keep those left side tires on the car literally for 125 laps around Berlin. We're seeing the times drop off. We're seeing their speeds drop off. We're seeing them run through some cars, trying to get as many cars a lap down. This continues to be a great battle for fourth between Jesse Love and Taylor Gray, two 17-year-olds. We're going to see a lot today, tomorrow, and for years to come as combatants on the racetrack.
And they're chasing the 18-year-old, number 18, Sammy Smith, and up front ahead of them, Tom Hessert running second, and they're all trying to catch Daniel Dye in that number 43. Daniel Dye, our pole sitter, that's what he did last year here at Berlin. He went on to win the race. He hasn't won yet in 2022. Could this be Daniel Dye's night here at Berlin? He is leading out front in the ARCA Menards Series Racing. Welcome back to Berlin Raceway. Taking a look at our last three winners here in the ARCA Menards Series, dating back to 2016, Jim, with Dalton Sargent.
His win was just the second at Venturini Motorsports. The first came with Eric Jones a few years prior. Joe Graff Jr., he muscled his way, literally pounding his way to the front and won his one and only ARCA Menards Series race here back in 2018. And last year, we talked about it, Daniel Dye, what a great run in just his second career ARCA Menards Series start, sat on the pole, beat Ty Gibbs outright, and won his first ever trophy here in the ARCA Menards Series at this racetrack.
And Daniel Dye has led every lap here, just crossing the start-finish line for lap number 45 of 200. So every lap here tonight started from the pole.
Look at his left hand. It's never moving. He's always cranking on it. It's just about a 3-inch move, but it's all to the left for our race leader.
And this is what we talked about. Technically, it's an oval, but it races like a circle. So you're always in a turn. You're always basically on the wheel.
And you're not following that line around the bottom. That's the craziest thing to get used to about watching the racing here. And really, as we go on here, as we get through more lap traffic, the right side tires will literally dance with 1.5 inches hanging over the backstretch asphalt on the backstretch. It's going to be fun to watch how that develops.
And they only have 6 tires, right? So that's what we're watching as well, because when we take this first break, which will happen about lap 75, so we're only about 27 laps away from it happening.
And what Daniel Dye has, he has Chad Bryant in his pits.
That's Rita Thomason in the 03. We talked about her just a little bit, one of our Bounty Rookie Spotlight drivers. And she knows it's going to be a tough season for her. She does have a handful of races that she has planned for Alex Club. Alex also races in the ARCA Menards Series, owns the team, and they sort of, piecemeal it together. They scratch and claw their way just to get here to the racetrack.
And Rita was so thankful that Alex Club was the team that she went with for this event. It's her race car, but it's Alex's pit equipment. Alex is the crew chief, Alex's crew guys, and Alex's spotter are really helping her get acclimated quickly to the ARCA Menards Series.
Here's a replay.
Just got low, really low in turn 1 there. Had to lock it down. Leaders are coming too. She was doing a nice job, betting her own pace. I think it kind of got her there going into turn 1. Maybe one more look in the mirror got her a little bit too low in 1 and spun it out.
That was the Auto Park It replay. I talked to her earlier today. She said, she works odd jobs. She talked about she's a sergeant with the Tuscaloosa Police Force. She does off-duty security work just to have some extra money. She puts it all in to the race car. She actually said she has a handful of friends, actually about 5 friends on the back of the car. They each basically chipped in $50 just to get here, but every little bit helps.
Well, she's committed to racing more in the ARCA Menards Series and making a go at it. Give her credit for all she does to get the chance to race at this level. She said it's a dream to get the ability and the opportunity to race, and her goal is to race in the NASCAR Truck Series. It's great to have those goals, and she said, why not? I'm working my brains out. I love Spec Miata racing, but I want to do something to get myself into NASCAR.
What I thought was interesting, she said she enjoys the focus of it. You know, you get in the race car and you can't think about anything else. You can't think about something that happened earlier in the day because you have to be so focused. And she said that's actually freeing. There's a freedom in having to sort of zero in.
Daniel Dye has been free of any schoolwork since May. He graduated with his high school class in DeLand, Florida. And guess what he's been doing since then? Racing and bowling. That's it.
That is it. Oh,
That
we talked a little bit about the bowling story. We're going to continue to follow that throughout the summer for sure. But congratulations to the high school graduate. Taking a look at our ARCA Menards Series point standings. Look at how tight. I mean, you can't get any tighter than that. That's teammates tied up at the top.
Yeah, we mentioned the 5 places different on the racetrack at the finish of the Iowa Speedway race last week. 1 point per position, that's the difference. Now we're tied, dead even. Raja and Nick, teammates at Rev Racing, doing a great job this year. Daniel Dye has won a point for winning the General Tire pole tonight. So coming into the 8 points back, he's already gained 1. There's also a point that's awarded for leading a lap, leading the most laps, and you get a 3-point bonus for winning. So Daniel Dye is making up some serious ground just by leading these laps. If he leads the most, that's another point towards a championship run that could come down to a single point or 2 to win the championship the way we're going.
Tony Bredinger and Amber Balkin, real tight there in the battle for 4th in the ARCA Menards Series standings as well.
They finished twice now within 1 position of each other. They're qualifying next to each other, or right, we saw them again. They're real close on the racetrack. A lot of great racing for those 2 full-time female drivers, both racing for the championship and the Bounty Rookie of the Year award.
Amber Balkin started 8th tonight, Tony Bredinger in 10th. There you see Tony Bredinger, the number 25. A really cool story as well, in that she said when she got her chance at Daytona, she said, I knew how big it was. That was my moment, and I just wanted to embrace it. And here she is now racing full-time in the ARCA Menards Series.
It's a big step having Pit Viper and other sponsors come forward. She's working really hard at that marketing end of things. Got some great support behind her as an Arab American female. But really, Tony's done a nice job getting things together to go racing full-time.
Mike, do you have more on Amber as well in that number 30?
Yeah, you know, I've never met a race car driver who's put more work in the middle of the week into her upcoming race than Amber Balkin. She told me all about her mental training that she goes through. She works with a sports psychiatrist. She studies tape. She told me she watched last year's race, and well, this may not surprise you, but she really focused on Daniel Dye and what he did. But she also said she stopped that tape many, many, many times. Pause, 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 she said, all because she wanted to see exactly where cars were in the corners, how they were spaced out, how they were entering, how they were apexing, and how they were exiting the corner. She was really breaking down that tape and going to work on her game.
And I listened to her in practice. That's exactly what her crew chief was talking to her as well. Said if you put the wheel in it in the right spot, find the right line, it'll rotate. And that's what you need. As we get back to go, ready to go green here at Berlin. They're coming out of 4. 52 laps have been turned at the Raceway, and we're back under green. Daniel Dye has led every lap tonight. That streak continues as he powers out of 3.
Get what you can get here. Jesse Love made an abrupt move across the racetrack to get to the inside behind Sammy Smith in that black TFC 18. He wants position. He'll get it for 3rd. Taylor Gray also fighting through some of those bumps way down in the bottom of turn 2. They don't run down there a lot, but he's got to protect that inside line to hold position here in that black 17.
Look at these lap times. They're just so tight here on these restarts. They haven't had time to fan out, stretch out. We know the tire fall off is going to happen. They've now turned 55 laps of the 200-lap race. We anticipate that first race break in about 20 more laps, and it is a traffic jam.
One thing about going in a circle, another thing about opening up the inside. You can't help but come off the bottom a few times to give that perfect lap. Jesse Love moved up the track just a little bit. Taylor Gray saw the opening, and here he comes for David Gilliland racing on the bottom, seeking his 2nd win on the season as he saws the wheel off of turn 4.
I was just going to say, look at his hands working that steering wheel. Yeah, Taylor Gray won at Phoenix earlier this year, but look at Jesse Love on the outside.
Now you get a little more idea of why I love this place. We can race like this all night if we had to, but it won't take long for Tom Hester to say, I got something to say about on the inside. 3 wide here at Berlin. Wow.
When they're racing each other this hard as they continue 3 wide through the turn, along the backstretch, look at that stagger. They're just, I mean, what a photo moment right there. And Taylor Gray with the sweep move. Ooh, is that a Reese's sweet move?
Great move to gain position back on Tom Hester. Hester told him, I'm down here. Leave me some room. I'm going to get you. Gray did a great job getting that power back down, powering down through the corner and getting that lead out right for that position. He's running now in the third position.
I was going to ask, though, when you're working each other that hard for that many laps, that is adding to that tire fall off as well.
Yeah, big time. That's a price to pay. While this is a flat racetrack, there is some banking as you go higher on the track, 9 to 13 degrees. 13 degrees in the corners, 9 on the straights, but in reality, it comes down to sheer bravery here, I think, between these three respectful drivers.
I loved taking a look at how Taylor Gray did that. I loved it so much, we're going to take another look at it with the Auto Park It replay.
So Tom Hester goes to the bottom of Taylor Gray, and Taylor's like, hang on a second, I thought I had position on the bottom. Oh, man, I'm in the middle. His spotter's saying middle of three, just like we're at Talladega, for goodness sake. Great move by Taylor Gray to get through there.
He timed it perfectly because they were sort of, like I said, that was that photo moment where they were all just sort of staggered out perfectly, and he just timed it to be able to get there. And that's the passing spot. We talked about this earlier. You said there's kind of that magic moment where you have to time it to be able to pass.
And now we're dusting up turn 4 on the apron. We're below the apron. We're in the grass in turn 4 trying to find the bottom. Tom Hester is certainly bottom feeding here, catfishing on the inside looking for second.
Looked like Tom Hester was kind of pushing Taylor Gray up the racetrack a little bit.
Yeah, Hester might have a faster race car here, but man, he is trying everything possible. Taylor's learning something here as well. Taylor's not raced here a lot in the ARCA Menards Series at a track like Berlin Raceway, and for Tom to sneak on through, make it work, get to the bottom, Taylor's going to try it back. Why not, right? Taylor's here to win races, not to make friends. I love this race in Berlin.
Taylor Gray in the black number 17 is 17 years old. Tom Hester in that white number 15, 36. And you see the caution is out. That's the 30 of Amber Balkin. Look at the damage to the back end, Jim.
That's a lot of damage from this perspective. Big time damage for Amber Balkin. A lot of confidence coming to this race. Another new track for her, but her crew chief and co-owner, Mark Rett, won at this track in 2009 with Justin Lofton, who went on to win the championship that year. So Mark has really been in step with her, getting her confidence back. And she came into this race with 3 straight top 10 finishes. It was all going in the right direction. But again, this track is so different. Something went awry on that car. We see debris also on the racetrack scattered from that contact with Amber Balkin into the wall.
As you look at her inside the race car, you see the Canadian, the maple leaf on her helmet. She is from Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, her husband is a football player for the Edmonton Eskimos in the CFL. Her brother plays NHL hockey. Her dad's a racer. Her sponsor's from Canada. Terry Jones, the co-owner's from Canada. Oh, it's great to see Amber, a Manitoba resident, native and resident, getting a chance in the ARCA Menards Series. And unfortunately, her night may end right here, right now with that damage.
Again, Amber Balkin started 8th. She drives that number 30. Coming into this race, she's coming off a top 10 at Iowa.
Yeah, just a good run, learning as she goes, improving every race, really. She's been racing a lot better no matter the track here in this series this year. Maybe she's going to try to drive this car back to the pits. They can work on these race cars in the pits. There's no time limit like we see in other NASCAR National Series. You can get what you need to get done here if it's drivable.
Jim, you talked about how it races different, but really, just looking at this racetrack, the pits are entirely different than pretty much anywhere else we go as well.
And one thing to think about, where she ended up in turns 3 and 4, when you enter turn 3, I've talked to drivers over the years, the car is the lightest it is in the rear when you're entering turn 3 because you have to go in there so differently and then try to find a time to get back on the throttle. The rear is so light in the car, we couldn't tell. We don't have a replay to show you, but that could have been from contact or just simply wheel braking free or something like that. Just wheel spin at this racetrack as we're wearing on now, 68 laps into this 200-lapper.
In practice, Mark Rett, you talk about such a cheerleader on the radio, telling her lap times were as good as others. We talked about if she put a little more wheel into it in the right spot, working on squaring the corner. Those are the kind of things they were working on in practice.
One of her better qualifying runs, too. They were pretty happy. She didn't have a lot to debrief with the teams. I have my Racing Electronics radio up here. I was kind of listening as she came off the racetrack. Didn't ask for a lot of changes, and they thought they had a pretty decent race car after what they made the change for, because the cars then were impounded between qualifying this afternoon at 6 p.m. and then racing at 8 o'clock local time.
Let's take a look at our Sprecher laps leader. Again, coming into Berlin Raceway.
race laps led in the ARCA Menards Series. Corey Heim with what he's been able to do on the big tracks when Jesse Heim's not in that number 20. Jesse Little's not in the number 20. Nice job. But Sammy Smith, man, his run at Phoenix was amazing. He led some laps at Iowa Speedway as well. He's second overall. These are laps led on the season. And then that Brandon Jones guy out of the NASCAR Xfinity Series with the Menards on the quarter panel has won 2 races in a row, 64 laps total led already this year.
But he's not in the field tonight. So if you're just joining us, there is opportunity for someone like Sammy Smith in that 18 who's still looking for his first National Series win.
We very likely could see our 4th straight winner at Berlin Raceway, 4 different winners here at this racetrack in 4 consecutive runs.
This racetrack does like first-time winners. There is a history of that. And as they're going to finish this lap. This will be lap number 70. And because of the conditions out on the racetrack with Amber Balkan's spin, we will make this the race break. So this will become the race break here when they cross the start-finish line for lap 70.
So the cars can come to pit road under a race break. They can change tires and fuel, but not at the same time. Can do anything they want to the race car, change 2 or 4 tires under a race break, and then go back out without losing a spot relative to how they came in off the racetrack.
Yeah, and don't adjust your television. Yes, you're watching a completely different type of pit road here at Berlin Raceway. We'll tell you how it all shook out as we continue ARCA Menards Series Racing, the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Daniel Dye, your leader. We are under a race break here at Berlin Raceway for the Zinsser Smart Coat 200 in the ARCA Menards Series. That is Daniel Dye's number 43. Daniel Dye, the pole winner here at this racetrack this year. And he was also the pole winner last year. And let's take a look back at what happened in that race.
It's time to have a big old ARCA party in the Wolverine State tonight. Daniel Dye leads his first laps ever in the ARCA Menards Series tonight here at Berlin.
That was a Ty Gibbs-esque launch by Daniel Dye there to get that lead. Nice run.
Daniel Dye's been just too good so far. But oh no, maybe a little contact with Ty Gibbs.
Can't go in the dirt now, Daniel. Stay true. 1 to go. Here comes Ty Gibbs in a huge run.
Second start in the ARCA Menards Series. 17-year-old Daniel Dye wins at Berlin.
So will history repeat itself? Will Daniel Dye win his second career ARCA Menards Series race at the same racetrack, Berlin Raceway? You have to come back to join us to see what happens. We are 70 laps into the 200-lap Zinsser Smart Coat 200 at Berlin. Back at Berlin Raceway, work in the pits is complete after this race break. Let's get a report from downstairs and Mike Massaro.
Well, Krista, as good as Daniel Dye has been throughout the course of this race, they did make changes during the course of that break. Not only did they take right side tires, they also made a track bar adjustment. They raised it just a half a turn. They also put tape on the grill, perhaps because they expect this track to change just a little bit as the sun begins to descend and it's getting a little bit cooler out here. I would imagine the track will change slightly.
Daniel Dye working the wheel a little bit. He has led every lap, 71 total.
He's trying to get his equal reps in, turning it to the right. It won't be happening a lot more tonight unless it's under caution. He's just trying to get the tires.
Just to make sure, yeah.
Yeah, is the car still turned to the right? Because I'm doing a lot of left-hand turns today. You know, the number 43 on the door is not just in honor of Richard Petty, it's with permission. That Daniel Dye, since quarter midgets, has been a Richard Petty fan and got permission to run the stylized 43 of the King Richard Petty, and it's been on every race car he's had a say in what the car number is since.
Daniel Dye, we talked about, just a recent high school graduate out of Florida. He's the pole sitter and defending winner of this race. Here we're riding on board. There was the Richmond Water Heaters of number 20, Jesse Love.
Got to get good restarts. You got to fire off just right. We saw drivers trying to fight to the bottom almost instantaneously at the drop of the green flag on the last restart.
So we've raced about 70 laps under green. We've had a couple of cautions for some incidents. But this is where it'll be interesting because depending on what happened on that service, did drivers take 2 tires? Did they take 4? And that will depend on what they can do at the next race break, which we anticipate happening around lap 125.
And only Daniel Dye gets the choice of what lane he wants to restart in. As the control car, he takes the bottom here at Berlin.
This is when it could matter, the middle portion of this race, and you are about to see it here at Berlin Raceway as the green flag is back in the air. Sammy Smith is not making it easy for Daniel Dye. They are side by side, and Sammy Smith with that slight advantage.
They qualified on the front row. The initial start, Sammy Smith tried to stay outside of Daniel Dye and couldn't do it. Daniel Dye got the lead and went gone. This time, Sammy staying tight on the outside line. Or was, not anymore.
Wow, Daniel Dye able to get back out in front as Sammy Smith, like I said, making it difficult. Look at his wheel. Look at his hands on that wheel in that 18, Jim.
And Sammy Smith has gotten a lap led here tonight. So Daniel said, I want to improve my effort. Last year I only led 198 of 200. Well, tonight you can't lead them all either. Sammy got the lead at the line that time.
He's going to try to make it 199, though. The rest of these drivers say, not so fast. Love these restarts here because they stay so close for so long. There's so much side-by-side racing here at Berlin.
Jesse Love, number 20, JBL Toyota in 5th. Nick Sanchez, the point leader, back in 6th position. Trying to make up some ground here as it's been the Daniel Dye followed by Sammy Smith show thus far tonight.
And a little bit of Tom Hesser mixed in, stirred in, if you will, into the dish.
And Tom's not done yet. I saw him sawing at the wheel again on that restart. He's that 36-year-old veteran, the number 15. First time since 2018 back here at Berlin Raceway, one of his favorite tracks.
Tom Hesser in that 15, chasing those teenagers out front. Right now working on 18 of Sammy Smith. There you see Daniel Dye out in the lead in that 43.
What Tom does to bring to this team, Venturini Motorsports has young drivers, Toyota Development place drivers on occasion. He has Jesse Love tonight and Tony Ridinger as teammates. Tony's getting there. Jesse has more experience in different kinds of race cars, so having Tom Hesser to sit in those meetings and debrief with and talk through the race weekend and afterward, that's a huge help to these young drivers in Venturini Motorsports camp.
Look at him, almost hunting Sammy Smith down, checking the line that he's running on the racetrack.
Notice he came into turn 3 high and went lower in turn 4 than Sammy Smith did. So Tom Hesser is line hunting here. He's raced in pavement and dirt midgets. Tom Hesser has raced a ton in the ARCA Menards series. He knows where to put the nose here at Berlin Raceway. His 10th time racing on this track under the ARCA banner.
And it's what makes the ARCA Menards series so much fun. Yes, you have a lot of teenagers. We have a lot of them, young guys without a lot of experience. But then you have these veterans that'll come in and really make such a difference as Daniel Dye stretches his lead out over Sammy Smith to now over 2 seconds.
Sammy Smith and Tom Hesser. What was it, about 20 laps ago? We're thinking, man, these tires are getting worn out. No, they're both really putting it on the edge. We see them both now sawing at the wheel a little bit. And that number 18 of Sammy Smith, that TMC Transport Toyota.
And the number 6 was able to get the lead lap after that caution to stay on the lead lap.
There goes Hesser to get dirt tracking off of turn 4. Somehow he found something down there. Why would he keep doing that unless he knows he's got a little bit of grip? Put those left side tires in the dirt, literally in turn 4 on the apron. And that white number 15 HesserCars.com Camry.
This is going to be a fun one to watch because, like you said, Tom Hesser knows what he's doing at this racetrack. Sammy Smith does have experience. He raced here. He was here for the late model race just a few weeks ago. Wasn't able to complete it because they did have weather delay it, and he needed to get back to Iowa.
Yeah, the Money in the Bank 150. There's big money being put up by some really good races here at Berlin Raceway. They have another big super late show in August here.
That's right. It was a super late model, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah, he and Donnie Wilson have clicked. They won the Winchester 400 last year.
Look at this.
Wow. Look at that. Quick and easy. Rewind the tape to lap, 25 or so, and Tom Hesser made the same move, and Sammy had to give him the inside. Oh, now Tom's doing that same line. Sammy's going to work. The computer is rolling in Sammy's brain. What's Hesser doing? I'm not. I'm going to follow this guy and figure it out.
I'm watching Tom Hesser because it almost looks like when he takes that turn, it's like the back end just sort of scoots out a little. But is that what it is? It's such a quick whip of the hands.
Yeah, we talk about turn left, keep turning left, turn left again. he is on purpose twitching it to the right to get grip off the bottom of 4, and it's working.
Okay, let's get some more on Tom Hester. Mike, what do you have?
Yeah, so I just climbed up on top of their transporter to talk with Kevin Reed to get a sense of what Tom is saying so far. Obviously, he's really happy with the race car. I asked him about that really interesting line he's taking, getting all the way down on the apron, getting left side rubber as close to the bottom of the racetrack as he can. He said, well, that's a line that he has tried before, and he knows he's comfortable with it. It's not out of the ordinary at all, and it's been proven to be successful. He's making it work, as you can see here right now, once again.
Yeah, back in the day, they used to have a drainage cover down there, a drain hole cover on the apron of turn 4, and they found the quick way was not on the drain cover, but straddling the drain cover in turn 4. That's where all the water drained to from the banking here. That has since been paved and redone, but that's so let's just start calling that the Hester line. It's working for him right now. He's running second, chasing down Daniel Dye.
Great job by our camera operators getting those shots of the driver's hands on the steering wheels inside the car, because that is a big part of racing here at Berlin. Again, like we talked about, it's an oval. It is written that way on paper, but it races like a circle, and that's why these drivers are having to stay up on the steering wheel the whole time.
So I asked Tom this morning, I said, hey, you've got 4 young boys. If I was your son and I saw you packing up to go racing, and I haven't seen that in a long time, the first thing I asked him, were the kids going through your helmet bag? Were they trying on your uniform? Were they putting the gloves on and walking around the house? He said, thank goodness no, because I actually couldn't find my Hans device. I had to borrow my dad's. He ran a vintage race a couple years ago. So Tom Hester's dad has a better, newer Hans device than Tom could find to come here to Berlin to race with. It's kind of cool how that family works together and enjoys it. They're here together and tonight, father and son, on Father's Day weekend.
That is a fun story as we ride along with Taylor Gray, the General Tire onboard camera of that number 17 for David Gilliland Racing. Taylor Gray has a win in the ARCA Menards Series this year.
Oh man, let's listen to this one. Let's see how this thing purrs around this racetrack. Listening to the wait time, Krista, and how long he waits and how he goes into turn 3 and almost squares off turn 3 to get a better run off turn 4. This is fascinating to hear and see what he's doing in the race car from that onboard.
And as you listen to it, you hear the rhythm, you hear the timing, and almost there's a cadence, a choreography to it. I mean, not that I could do it, but there is one.
I played saxophone in high school. I haven't touched a horn since, so don't ask me how the cadence works.
Since high school, then you think of the fact that Taylor Gray is high school.
Yeah, 17. Yeah. Jesse Love has made the move from his home in California to live in the Carolinas. Great opportunities at the Toyota Racing Development. They've got their own workout program. They have their own fitness instructors. They've got people working with these young drivers. Kurt Busch is also consulted with these young drivers now that he's with 2311 in the Toyota camp. They're really getting a lot of resources to pull from. But as Jesse's told me today, that pressure to perform is always there. And I just got to put my head down and know I've got a great opportunity and I can't mess it up. But I also know I've got to be me. And I really like how Jesse approaches it. One of the California cool kids, I'd say. He and Rajah Caruth today impressed me with, they didn't get excited. They weren't fired up about, hey, this is that. They weren't overly animated. They were methodical, and that's how they sound on the radio. And thank goodness they can manage all the pressures they have performing to get opportunities in this series and the other NASCAR National Series.
And we are methodical out on the racetrack as we are at the halfway point. They just turned lap 101, so 99 laps to go here at Berlin Raceway. ARCA Menards Series Racing, the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Daniel Dye, the number 43, continues to lead. In case you have missed anything here at Berlin Raceway, let's catch you up to speed with our Richmond Water Heaters mid-race recap. Daniel Dye, the number 43, the pole sitter, out front early and often.
Spin here by the 0-3 of Rita Thomason, and her debut brought out the first of just 2 caution flags in the first half of the race.
Yeah, we've had a lot of racing. Daniel Dye has led a lot of laps. Here you see a great move by the 17 of Taylor Gray.
Great racing for 3rd place, Gray, Jesse Love, and the returning Tom Hester here in the 15, making things happen on the bottom.
Yeah, Tom Hester, the veteran of that group, racing those teenagers in the 17 and the number 20. Tom Hester, 36 years old, back for the first time in 4 years.
Got some fresh right side tires under the race brake at lap 70 after Amber Balkan's spin, and Daniel Dye on the bottom again, jets out to the lead, but Sammy Smith did get a lap let in there in the number 18 before Daniel took back control here halfway through this one.
So let's take a look then at some stats, and this is at the halfway point of this race is what these numbers came from. At lap 100, these were Daniel Dye has led the most laps, that is for sure. Like you said, not all of them, but he has led the most.
And we now know he's led the most laps. That's an additional point towards the championship. Now 6 points separate him and the Rev Racing teammates that came in this race, tied in points. And Daniel put down the fastest lap as well. The Striker Lap Leader Award at the end of the year pays a big bunch of money, and hope a bunch of great craft root beer made in Milwaukee.
And Jim mentioned that caution came out with Amber Balkan. Mike, you're down with her?
Yeah, and she's just collecting her thoughts. She came from the care center. She is okay, but you were looking to build on a pretty strong run last week. Obviously, this is not what you wanted to see. What happened?
Yeah, you know, our icon track number 30 was really solid all day, so we had really high expectations going into this race, and I was just pushing it harder and harder and trying to chase that first top 5 of the season, and I just pushed it too hard and messed up, and I hate it. I'm mad at myself. I hate it for the guys, hate it for my sponsors. You know, this isn't the kind of TV time I want for them, so I'm just mad at myself.
Obviously, a frustrated Amber Balkan, heavy damage to the 30 car, appears to be done for the day. Guys?
And the bigger picture, 3 top 10 finishes have her 5th in points, but she came in only 5 points ahead of Greg Van Alsten, 6th in the standings. Greg is still on the racetrack, and so is the driver that Amber was racing for points in 4th and 5th and 6th. That's all going to change now. Tony Breidinger, a couple laps down. She came in this race 4th in points, so it's a big blow for Amber Balkan in her first full season here in the series.
And what you're watching on the racetrack right now is our leader, Daniel Dye, in that 43, battling the 2 of Nick Sanchez, who's running 7th, but that's why at a short track, just putting Nick Sanchez a lap down, that's why I had to look at the scoring pylon, because I thought, wow, he's already lapping guys in the nearly in the top 10.
Guys can click off, girls can click off really fast laps here, and when the handling goes away, it magnifies here a lot. The sun has gone down. That changed another dynamic. Rev Racing came here. Racing came here for the ARCA Menards Series East race a couple years ago. 4 of their drivers all finished in the top 10. But there's been so many changes at Rev Racing now with 2 full-time ARCA Menards Series campaigns, also racing for the East Series points that join in here. This team is a lot different than it was, and their notebooks aren't as deep as, say, Venturini Motorsports, who's been here for every one of the ARCA Menards Series races held here at Berlin Raceway.
Well, you have Venturini Motorsports, that number 20, but you also have Rev Racing in that number 6 right there battling each other. That is the battle for 5th on the racetrack. The number 20 of Jesse Love, the number 6 of Raja Karuth.
And Raja's done a really nice job. He's been to a lot of tracks, but not a lot of ARCA Menards Series tracks. He's run a lot in late models at Hickory and other places, and he gets to race his go-kart at GoPro Motorplex. And he's been racing some at Millbridge as well in a micro sprint to get some dirt experience. A lot of different things, but when it comes to tracks like this one, Berlin's a whole different animal. I'm really impressed how Raja's been able to adapt quickly here in his debut at this racetrack.
When I talked to him, he referenced Hickory. He also referenced Greenville Pickens. His dad, I talked to his dad, Roger. He said he mentioned Hickory as well. Remember, his dad is learning racing. This was not a racing family. Raja has brought his family into racing because he wanted to do it so badly. Getting close to that mid-race break, there you see the yellow. The yellow flag is out. Again, this is for our next race break happening at lap 125. So there are just 75 laps to go. This will be a decision time. Again, you did 2 tires, you're going to do the 4. If you did 4, you've got 2. But you have to make those 2 last, Jim, for 75 more laps.
And the guessing continues. The notebooks are here for so long. This is the coolest we've raced at Berlin Raceway in a long time. Air temperature-wise, track temperature-wise is cooler. The first 75 laps are run under the sunshine. Now we've got the sun setting behind the tall trees overlooking turn 2. As the track changes, the car handling changes. And you also only had a 50-lap run there, 45 laps or so to get this car figured. So this is a very critical point for the crew chiefs and drivers to say exactly what they want in the car and anticipate what they're going to have 75 laps from now.
We love that Lucas Oil chopper shot. Nick Sanchez gets the free pass as Daniel Dye continues to lead. Just 7 cars on the lead lap.
Big break for Sanchez, though. He gets to rejoin the field here. And again, as we pit, you don't lose position in perspective, in respect to where you're running on the track. Nobody loses or gains pits on pit road here in positions. this is one of the tracks that really adapted well, because in years past, Krista, they actually pitted on the right side and left side of this unique pit road to get everybody their service.
Which is basically the infield.
Yeah, and it was a mad land rush to get off pit road. And really what we have now with these controlled environments, get your work done, do it in a safe manner. We've got a 5-minute clock here in a race break setting. Get what you need to get done. Then let's go back to show the fans what we can do with 4 fresh General tires after this break for the last 75.
Daniel Dye has led all but 1 lap at Berlin. He is the defending race winner. His only ARCA Menards Series national win came here last year as he leads these cars into the infield, which is also the pit road, like Jim was just talking about, to get the service done before this final stretch of racing here at Berlin.
Pit stalls were chosen by owners' points and assigned by ARCA, so you can really see what your competition's doing. The Rev Racing guys, see Daniel Dye right there. They're top 3 in points. They're pitted right nose to tail with each other. There's Greg Van Alst. He came in this race 6th in points. He has the 6th or 7th pit stall based upon owners' points now. So you're really within that environment almost all the time around the cars you're racing for wins and points.
Saw Bill Venturini up there on the hauler putting that sweatshirt on. It's getting a little cooler.
I'm sure he's looking at his cars for a moment, but everybody else, what are they doing? That's part of that depth that Venturini Motorsports brings. Big Bill Venturini is a 2-time ARCA champion. He's been around a lot of these races. A long time with his son Billy now seeing the day today. There's Big Bill. Great to see him and Kathy at the racetrack. It's almost like you need to see them and say hi. Bill scoots up on his scooter. Kathy's walking in with a tray of food or something like that. It's what they do. It's part of what the ARCA family means. Really, it's the definition.
And it is a family affair, not just for the Venturinis, but for so many of the teams. You mentioned the Hesserts, and on Father's Day weekend, it is special. A lot of families are here. It's a great crowd in the stands. A lot of families enjoying the racing atmosphere. Berlin Raceway does a great job of making it fan-friendly. And we hope they're enjoying the show. We hope you at home are enjoying it on MAV TV. And if you're not, well, what are you doing? Because when you come back, we're going to see the final stretch of racing. There you see Kevin Reed, the veteran crew chief, with the veteran driver of Tom Hessert. Daniel Dye continues to lead, and we have just under 127 laps here in Berlin.
The ARCA Menards Series is brought to you by Sioux Chief, America's manufacturer of plumbing, drainage, supply, and support products. Purrs, forever good. Sprecher Brewing Company, Milwaukee's original craft brewery. And by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Reese's, not sorry.
Great to see a quick shot there of Earl Bonner, our longtime ARCA official. He lost his battle with an illness. We're also thinking of Doc Hunter and his family, a longtime member of the ARCA family who passed away just this past week.
It is a family, and a lot of families you see there in the stands enjoying the racing here at Berlin Raceway. Mike.
Yes, Krista, as we've seen throughout the course of the evening, Daniel Dye right now is the car to beat, but the man who's putting a lot of pressure on him right now is Tom Hessert in the 15 car. During this break, they took a very large swing at it, lots of adjustments, track bar, wedge. They made a shock adjustment. They also made an air pressure adjustment and, of course, a 4-tire change. They are swinging for the fences, trying to bring home the win for the 15 car today. Krista?
It's a great story. We love seeing back here in the ARCA Menards Series, the first time in 4 years, driving for Venturini Motorsports, chasing Daniel Dye in the 43. But let's, Jim, can you dial up another driver for us?
All right, Sammy Smith, you've had a chance to get 4 fresh General tires. What did you ask for these final 75 laps to win this thing?
Yeah, we struggled those first 125, and guys are making good adjustments. Just weren't what we needed that last run, so I think we got them right here, and hopefully it'll be good.
What did you learn from Tom Hessert in that crazy line down low he's been running?
Yeah, he's been good. Daniel's been good. Just gotta execute here and see what we have.
Hey, we wish you well. Thank you, Sammy.
1 to go at the line. Sammy Smith in that number 18, currently running 3rd. As they shake back out, coming out of the pits, Daniel Dye is the car to beat right now. He has been out front for all but 1 lap. Sammy Smith able to take that 1 lap from him.
Getting that launch, getting those tires clean, it's so important, as we'll find here in these first moments, the first 5-6 laps, as we weed things out. You want to be one of those cutting with the knife, not being shed to the side as another car might get to the inside of you. Critical restarts here at Berlin.
And you have to be assertive because, yeah, everyone's so tight on these restarts, but you also have to. Is there such a thing as saving your car? We're about to find out. As they round through turn 3 and 4, we have just 72 laps of racing left at Berlin. Who is going to take the Zinsser Smart Coat 200? We're about to find out as they are racing under green.
Great launch by Daniel Dye once again. Sammy Smith lined up inside second row. He's got position, but Jesse Love's battling back now. That Californian, the number 20 for Venturini Motorsports, wants that second spot.
It's a great battle all the way up front. The battle for 5th, really close.
Taylor Gray in that black 17 has a position, and Rajah Karuth, you see him getting wider now, higher in turns 3 and 4 in the center to cut down across the bottom. He's changing his lane. He's searching here in that white number 6 Max Siegel Incorporated Chevrolet.
But is this something they're able to do because of the fresh tires?
It is. You want to find it now because later on you might have to use that lane. He's finding the maximum grip right now, right through the center of that corner, cutting to the bottom. Taylor Gray's just got a really fast Ford ahead of him as well in this run to the finish. There's Nick Sanchez. He got the free pass. He's back on lead lap. And that white and black and red number 2, he's back in 7th. He's back in contention. These two drivers came into the race tied for the point lead.
They are teammates, the 6 and the 2. We really haven't talked about them much tonight because it has been the Daniel Dye show. A little bit of Sammy Smith, some Jesse Love, and some Tom Hesser thrown in. But now we're talking about Nick Sanchez in that 2 and Rajah Karuth in that number 6. As they continue to battle for that 6th spot, let's take a look at the Auto Park It replay. Look at the number 15. We're going to watch his tires here, Jim.
He got sideways right there. He lost a ton of track time trying to get up on the wheel, hit the gas pedal, and you see he's still spinning the tires here down the front stretch.
That's a great Auto Park It replay. Really told the story right there. Our eyes were fixated on the 43 of Daniel Dye and Sammy Smith in that 18, but that told a lot of the story. Tom Hesser trying to get everything he could on that restart. Again, we see his hands sawing at the wheel. Tom Hesser running 4th. Just 64 laps to go here in Berlin, and they click off fast at this half-mile oval.
All right, is Hester laying down? No way. He's still got that move. Once I hit the rumble, if you will, on the inside, then he's going to cock it to the right and hit the gas pedal. He's back in rhythm, but he knows what he lost there. He's got to get back in the rhythm here. Chasing down his young teammate, Jesse Love. 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. Jesse's down there as well. The great thing about these teams, they have great spotters. Lloyd Garner is the spotter for Jesse Love. He worked with Corey Heim for the last 5, 6, 7 years. Everywhere Corey went, Lloyd went. Lloyd is now adapted here to working with Jesse Love on the short tracks with this number 20 team. He's got a lot of time on the headset as well as a spotter, so he's keeping an eye on where they're running, where are we not running. He's figured out the Hester line right now on that number 20 to stay ahead of his teammate in the 15.
Did you make it official? You're calling it the Hester line?
During the race break, I just copy wrote Hester line, Berlin. Yeah, it's under my name now. Just like Pat Riley with 3-peat, I get residuals now when somebody says,
who knew?
Hey,
who knew you could create a patent during a commercial break?
Yep. Thank you, Berlin Raceway Internet. Wi-Fi.
All right, we'll continue to watch the Hessert line as we watch the 15 of Tom Hesser chase down the number 20 of Jesse Love.
Jesse just bopped. Looked like he might have caught a seam or something in the track and moved his car up the racetrack. You got to really be on your toes all the way around the racetrack, no matter how good your car is here.
And they're out there. I was walking out on the track earlier. You can see those seams for sure. Oh, watch him creep up. He's at the back bumper of Jesse Love, number 20. These are teammates for Venturini Motorsports.
Here he goes to the inside, Krista. Getting a little nudge saying, I'm still here.
He's taking a peek.
Great run there. You notice how Hester ran him clean, didn't run him high, just got inside of him just enough and long enough to get the spot. Great move by Tom.
Put that down as a vote for the Reese's Sweet move. That was nice.
Tom Hester's going to walk out of here with a whole grocery cart full of Reese's peanut butter cups the way he's running.
But what I notice, it's the patience. Does that come with the fact that he has so much experience, 36 years old? He just knows how to time it.
And with his time away, honestly, he's not raced anything else since he got in the car, I think, a couple years ago at Daytona and did some laps with Chad Bryant back at Daytona. And that, again, that's a preseason test. He's not been in one of these cars, so I think that whole feel is coming back to him, the anxiety, anticipation, and why not try a line I know can work at Berlin Raceway? I know what I'm doing here. I'm not trying to search it out. I'm not trying to run for points, run for a championship, get noticed. I want to do this because I love racing in the ARCA Menards series.
And for these drivers, you see the lines that are on the track, but there are no marks, especially not on the backstretch in terms of not having a wall. There is no backstretch wall. There you see, look at the backstretch.
Yeah, we're about a half a groove lower than I anticipated at this point in the race, but that just could be where the grip is. These are harsh winters here. This track's old and worn out. I'm telling you, that's where they're running. Maybe because Daniel Dye is running that line that everybody wants to emulate, and he's got almost a 3-second lead now. And what he's doing here again tonight at Berlin, just like a year ago, get that rhythm, get going. But what's missing from this battle from a year ago? Ty Gibbs was only about 4 or 5 car lengths at most behind the rear bumper of Daniel Dye's car that night. Tonight, Daniel's clicking him out pretty good with that big lead.
Ty Gibbs, that young driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, behind Daniel Dye tonight. There we're looking at Taylor Gray, another young driver, but in second currently is the number 18 of Sammy Smith, drives for Kyle Busch Motorsports.
Yeah, a lot of great teams represented. We talk about the names of the teams, but really the crew members and the crew chiefs, they make this series percolate because you've got Kevin Reed working with the young drivers at Venturini and working with Tom Hester tonight. They're going to learn a lot. Taylor Gray has Chad Johnston. Chad's won races in the Cup Series with, well, just a couple of guys like Kyle Larson.
Oh, just Kyle Larson.
Tony Stewart. But having Chad work with Taylor, wherever Taylor goes, Chad goes now. So if it's a NASCAR truck race like he will at Mid-Ohio on a double dip, or whether it's racing a late model, Chad's with him, and it's really been paying off for them over the last year and a half now together as a pairing. Veteran crew chief and this young 17-year-old.
And they have the experience of David Gilliland. Obviously, it's David Gilliland Racing. But didn't you tell me there's a driver working with that team as well who has a whole lot of ARCA wins?
Yeah, you know, when it comes down to it, Frank Kimmel is also a good guy to have in your pocket. Frank is the car chief on the number 17 for Taylor Gray. He's got 3 wins here at Berlin, and he's won 80 of these ARCA Menards Series races over his tenure. So another guy to dial it in saying, Frank, what I need to do? Sit down, son. Bring some lunch. We can talk it over for about an hour and a half every track because Frank's such a good sharer of information, and it's great to have him in that DGR office every day working in the shop.
Watching the 20 of Jesse Love there, the 17 of Taylor Gray. This is the 35 of Greg Van Alst. A great story because he's under the radar. You're taking a look at the suit chief on board of Greg Van Alst. He's currently running 8th. Talking to him, he said, you know, there's not necessarily a chip on the shoulder that people kind of forget about him, but you do sort of keep it in your back pocket. He said he was somewhere and they talked about different guys racing and they rattled off the name of the drivers, and he said, oh yeah, and that other guy. Well, that other guy, Mike Bissaro, is doing pretty good tonight.
Yeah, he's done pretty well, and you may credit a testing session he had earlier this week. I had a conversation with Greg this afternoon. He said they went testing, and he was very cryptic about it, I might add, at another track in Michigan. He wouldn't tell me what track that was. He felt like that was proprietary information. But the focus was on the brake package. He felt like over the course of his career in ARCA, he's been too abusive on his brakes. So they wanted to go to work on that system and find a brake package that would sustain how aggressive he is with his braking. That testing was very successful, he told me. It allows him to maintain his style with his braking and be as hard on those brakes as he normally is without the wear and tear ruining the brakes. So far, the brakes are still intact, and he's running in the top 10, so it appears to be working in that cryptic test. Yeah, I guess a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. And let's remember, because of the trouble that Amber Balkan had earlier in this race, Greg Van Alst is in position for a huge opportunity tonight.
Yeah, came in just a handful of points behind Amber in the point standings. They're all racing full time. It's great to see Greg Van Alst 6th in the points. He'll probably move into 5th, maybe even to 4th, depending on his performance versus Tony Breidiger's run. Breidiger's back in 9th. So just a couple of points difference, but anything can change here. We also saw Brad Smith, who had a great run going tonight. It looks like he may have pulled behind the wall in what could have been another Michigander making history here. Brad's maybe still going to be in contention with the real hard pace we've been running. Brad's listed in 10th right now, I believe, behind the wall momentarily.
Brad Smith, 53 years old, from Shelby Township, Michigan.
The only Michigander in the race tonight.
Riding on board with the Jeep Beach view of Daniel Dye in that number 43. We talked about how you see him kind of on the wheel, but very smooth.
He is smoother now than he was at the start of the race. He was kind of sawing at it for a while. Look at this now. He's just kind of settling in here. These General tires, again, they are really good tires. We've had no issues. The radial tires, that's another new facet for these young drivers to learn. Longer races and radial tires here in the ARCA Menards Series. And getting to run to these worn-out racetracks with those radial tires, a great feel, will certainly help these drivers as they look forward. Daniel Dye working with GMS. They have a couple of NASCAR truck teams. They now own Petty GMS in the NASCAR Cup Series. There's a lot that Daniel Dye can draw from racing here in the ARCA Menards Series with these radial tires.
As we watch Daniel Dye, just 38 laps to go in this race. Mike, how is he feeling?
Hey, pretty good, I would say. You wanted to get an idea of just how happy he is with that race car? Well, it wasn't too long ago, pretty early in the race actually, when his crew came over the radio trying to encourage him to take care of his equipment. They asked him to try to go slower. He just quipped back and said, "This is the only speed I know." It's pretty fast, I would say, too.
Yeah, it's a good speed.
And sometimes when the car is that good, no matter what you do, you're still rolling. They're still giving you those intervals on your radio, and you're still you're hearing 2.9, 2.7, 2.8, 3.1. It's been a really good night for Daniel Dye. Give credit to Chad Bryant and this GMS racing team. They had Jack Wood with them last year in the GMS Racing Camp in the ARCA Menards Series for a large part of the season, and Jack got a chance to jump into one of their GMS NASCAR trucks. So it really gave Daniel the opportunity to come here later in the season and perform in a select number of races. And this was his second race last year he ran and won with, and really kind of set the stage for how can we do more of these races together.
And he's fun to watch. So is this number 18, Sammy Smith, just 18 years old. So it's an 18-year-old chasing down an 18-year-old. Sammy Smith finished second at Iowa last week. That's his home track. And we talked about this earlier in the race. Mike talked about his body language. He was upset because he wanted that so badly. But to finish second and have a good finish, not enough. You want to win these races.
I like what we're seeing here in the Lucas Oil pylon here. Joe Graff Jr., his first win in the ARCA Menards Series came here at Berlin Raceway, just like Daniel's last year. Dalton Sargent, first win came here at Berlin Raceway. Grant Enfinger has done great things. He's another resource for Daniel at GMS Racing today, so he can relate to ARCA and to what Daniel would like to do someday in the Truck Series.
And you see Eric Jones, the NASCAR driver in the Cup Series, a Michigander.
I was here that night. He was 15 years of age or 16 going to his senior year of high school. We were waiting on the front stretch for the trophies. His entire family was here. His high school buddies were here.
It's awesome.
Byron, Michigan's not that far away, so it was a big night for Eric Jones.
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember watching him down in Texas. I was there for the Truck Series, and he had his high school graduation happen on stage. They performed a high school graduation for him because he was missing his. Because that's what these kids do. They love racing so much. They miss these milestone moments in their life because they just want to be at the racetrack, like Sammy Smith.
Sammy's schoolwork has been online because guess what? He races anything and everywhere he possibly can. Donnie Wilson's got a great program for him when it comes to super late model racing. He won the Lucas Oil Winchester 400 last year, one of the premier super late model races in the country. Sammy went and won the New Smyrna World Series of Asphalt Stock Car Racing in super lates and pro late models in the last 4 or 5 years. He's run a ton against the best of the best, now proving it here. Can't tell you how geeked I am to see him at Road America in a couple weeks' time make his Xfinity Series debut for Joe Gibbs Racing. That's going to be a big deal for having Sammy Smith, after all this time and all the success he's had, getting this chance for 8 races with Joe Gibbs Racing starting in July in the Xfinity Series.
Talk about his schedule. I'm exhausted just listening to all the racing he has coming up. That's the 15 of Tom Hessert in that white car with the blue numbers. We've talked about him a lot, the 36-year-old from New Jersey, as we ride on board. That's the Sioux Chief view out the window of Greg Van Alst, number 35. That's a good-looking car, too, with that neon yellow number on the side.
Yeah, that throws back to his short track days. Greg Van Alst, that blue number 35, that's the colors he ran to the 2019 ARCA Series Super Series Super Late Model Championship. That got him a chance to come to Daytona as an invite because it's an ARCA-sanctioned series. The champion or a higher finishing car can always go to the road to Daytona, they call it. Andy Hillenberg gets a car out. The champion, Greg Van Alst, got the chance by winning the championship to get a lap or 2 or 10 at Daytona, and that scratched the itch to do more of these races. So great to see Greg back in the series after about 20 years of his first run through here in that late model paint scheme.
I like that. He had a Happy Father's Day sticker inside the car. I love that. We have 25, just 24 laps to go now here at Berlin. Daniel Dye continuing to lead. These were the point standings coming in. Raja Caruth, Nick Sanchez, teammates tied up front, but Daniel Dye has the opportunity to take a big chunk out of this tonight. Daniel Dye coming in 8 points back, as Jim talked about earlier. Because he was the General Tire pole winner, he was able to get 1 point. We know he's led the most laps, so he's able to get another point. So he is going to just sort of, you know, eat into that lead, if you will, of Nick Sanchez and Raja Caruth. Sanchez and Caruth are 6th and 7th on the track.
And we're doing some quick math here. If it plays out like it is right now, there'll be 3 drivers within 1 point.
You just did that math just now?
I got some help.
So
I got some help.
Copyrighted the Hesser and just did that math.
Well, since we adapted the NASCAR National Point System with just 1 point per position, it's kind of easy, but then you have to factor in those bonus points. So I think if we left it now, Raja might lead by 1, and Sanchez and Dye would be tied for second, 1 point back.
It's Jesse Love in the number 20. Currently running 4th. He's about 11 seconds behind. So no question, as Tom Hessert in 3rd, Sammy Smith in 2nd, all trying to chase down Daniel Dye. But anything could happen now with just 20 laps to go. One false move on the track, we'd have to have another restart, and that's when anything could happen.
And Jesse Smith's confident with his restarts. If he gets a chance, and Tom Hessert gets a chance to restart on the bottom, again, we line him up with just the leader getting choice of which lane they want to run. You put Tom Hessert on the bottom inside row 2 on a restart, where he's sitting right now in 3rd. That's worth the price of admission right there, if we get a chance to rack him again.
Sammy Smith 4 seconds back of Daniel Dye as you watch Jesse Love there. He is in 4th, about 12 seconds back. Sammy Smith has a shot, Mike.
Yeah, you know, you said there's a lot of racing left, and that's absolutely true, Kristen. That's exactly what Sammy Smith's team's telling him right now. They're explaining to him that his lap times are much quicker than those cars behind him. There's still quite a bit of a gap between him and Daniel Dye, but they're reminding him if something happens to the 43, they are ready to capitalize, and they are the best team other than the 43 at this point. They're telling him not to give up. There's still quite a bit of racing left. 16 laps are remaining, and the 18 still has a shot if something does happen to the 43, and they can close this gap.
And it's a matter of having a really good race car. This team finished second last year with Ty Gibbs. And I did drop in on the Racing Electronics radio I have sitting in front of me during the race break when they got the 4 tires on for Sammy Smith with 75 laps to go. Sammy asked about tire wear. His crew chief Mark McFarland responded, hey, those tires look really good. Like, we have no worries. We got the same setup in the car we think will really help you. It's a great setup, but just not as fast as Daniel Dye in the long run. It's crazy how good Dye's cars is tonight.
Well, you can't go anywhere because this race is winding down on a short track. We talked about the laps go so quickly, and we're going to be short track racing quite a bit throughout the summer here on MAV TV. We were at Iowa Speedway last week. We're at Elko next week.
Can we go somewhere next week and call it one of the most exciting races of the year? Elko Speedway next Saturday. You need to make a date with us right now. Next Saturday, live on MAV TV. Elko Speedway, the smallest oval we go to all year, with some of the best racing.
And this could come into play as you see Daniel Dye continuing to put cars a lap down. That's Greg Van Alsten, the number 35, running 8th, going a lap down. You just never know what could happen here in these final 12 laps, just 12 laps of racing at Berlin.
Daniel Dye's right hand is doing less movement now. That car is really on rails. Great job by that team getting it right, and Daniel just getting that power down when he needs it. Now he's able to probably coast in the corner a little bit, not getting on it too hard coming off. That helps the tire wear, helps the longevity of the tire wear. So Dye's doing everything right. That comes with a good setup off the truck by that team too.
Such a beautiful racetrack, Berlin Raceway in Marne, Michigan, Western Michigan.
You know, we see the grass and the asphalt, no backstretch wall. I got to tell you, I've been here 2 times, Kirst. I've been here twice where a car has gone off the backstretch and they couldn't find it.
They just lost it?
They had those scorers with those clipboards back in the day, and they had held the scoreboard every so many laps. They'd hold up their clipboard for how many laps are completed.
There you see it from the Lucas Oil chopper.
And wouldn't you know, the car went way down along the tree line. It got off the backstretch and kept going, and they had to stop the race and find it and drag it back up on the racetrack to continue. I think it was Dennis Latman in an ASA race back in the day.
I mean, I've lost my keys before. I don't know if I've ever lost my car.
Hey, where'd the 9 go? I don't know. Maybe he's on the backstretch.
Well, Daniel Dye hasn't lost anything in terms of his ability to race here at Berlin. He was on the pole, won the race last year, was on the pole, leading the most laps here tonight, now with just 7 laps to go. Daniel Dye can smell his second ARCA Menards Series win, but what was that, a wiggle? Was that a wiggle, Jim?
I thought I saw him slowing in the front stretch here. I looked out the window. Daniel Dye's got his hands full for some reason right now. The leader in trouble. That's Sammy Smith right behind him. There's a 3-second lead. Dye in what we would call survival mode here.
Look at Sammy Smith creeping up closer. He is on the bumper of Daniel Dye. Sammy Smith takes the lead.
5 laps to go. Daniel Dye came down the front stretch. The car looked a bit off. Maybe it's out of fuel.
Daniel Dye had led 194 of 195 laps when Sammy Smith was able to take the lead. We have to find out what happened with Daniel Dye. Let's take a look at the Auto Park It replay.
Going into turn 1, the car was slowing, obviously slowing. Sammy Smith's car, no issues whatsoever. As Dye tried to go down the backstretch, he was in the racing line, but in reality, losing a bunch of time. And this is how Sammy Smith got the lead with 5 to go. Motored on past. Wow.
This is an absolute game changer. Mike Massaro just did the report that the crew was talking to Sammy, encouraging him, saying, stay with this, because if something happens to Daniel Dye, you could be the car to beat. And now Sammy Smith, the 18-year-old in the number 18, is out front at Berlin. Could this be another first-time winner? Sammy Smith has won a ton in the ARCA Menards E-Series. He has never won a National Series race. Is tonight the night for the number 18?
Daniel Dye is still on the racetrack. You see his car slow on the front stretch here. He was in limp mode, but apparently not enough to go the distance. Dye stays on the racetrack in turn 2.
Sammy Smith in the black number 18. His shoulders were shrugged in Iowa because he wanted the win so bad, had to settle for second. It will not happen tonight. Sammy Smith is your winner at Berlin.
Welcome back to the podium. Tom Hessert finishing second, and Jesse Love, the drag race to the finish line. Great run for third for Love, fourth to Taylor Gray.
Mike.
Just a heartbreaker, Krista, for the 43 of Daniel Dye. You saw the dominant performance throughout the course of the evening. I just caught up with his team. As you saw, pretty obvious, they blew up in the closing laps.
Oh, our heart is breaking for him because he dominated this race just like he did last year. Did everything right. Sammy Smith was there to capitalize on the opportunity when it came up.
The ebbs and flows. Last week, Daniel Dye pulled off the racetrack at Iowa Speedway. A second Sioux Chief Showdown race with an oil leak. Didn't finish, finished 17th. Tonight, that damage comes late in the going for that team. And Sammy Smith is there to capitalize and get all the glory for being right there when he counted, being in pace. Yeah, he was a few seconds behind Daniel Dye, but that pace was really strong, and Sammy made it work with just 5 to go.
And now we have another first-time winner here at Berlin at this racetrack. The streak continues.
Yeah, that's now 4 in a row, and I'm sure it's a big relief for Sammy Smith. He's done so well in everything he's done. It's his first ARCA Menards Series victory.
Lots of wins in the East. He wanted one of these National Series wins. He now will join Taylor Gray as a National Series winner. Nick Sanchez, the other 2 drivers in the field who have won here in the ARCA Menards Series. Sammy Smith just turned 18 a couple of weeks ago. We talked about all of the schedule he has busy this summer with Xfinity Series racing. This is going to be a fun celebration. We can't wait to see Sammy Smith climb out of the car here at Berlin. You see the fist pump. Mike Massaro is down there and ready. Mike.
And Sammy Smith just climbing from the race car right now. Stands and salutes the crowd. You bided your time. You had a fast race car, but you had a huge gap to cover there in the closing laps. And then all of a sudden, the 43 slows down. What were your thoughts at that moment?
Yeah, it was that sucks for them. They deserved to win that one, and we got lucky today. But at the end there, they made good calls. We were able to get. They pulled us there on that for 10 laps in, and then we were running about the same times, give or take back and forth. But just thanks to TMC, Pilot Flying J, Allstate, Toyota, all these KBM guys. Some days it's better to be lucky than good.
We saw last week the disappointment you had finishing second in Iowa, but you were determined as you came here to get your first career win. It happened. What's this like for you?
Yeah, it's really cool. We weren't the best car today, and I feel like we need to get better, but we'll continue to work hard and move on to Elko.
How do you celebrate tonight, your first career victory here in the ARCA Menards Series?
Just celebrate with the team and go back to work tomorrow.
Big smile, but he's not ready to put down the work. Got a lot to do. Big career goals. They're not going to stop here. A bright future for Sammy Smith, that's for sure. Krista?
Oh, yeah, that is not going to be the last win we see from Sammy Smith in this series. And it won't be. We'll see Daniel Dye win races, too. I know Daniel Dye is going to hang his head. We saw at Phoenix when he had the wrong line, wasn't able to come away the winner in Phoenix. And we saw he's a student of the sport. So we'll have to see when we see Daniel Dye back in victory lane. But let's take a look now at our results from the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Sammy Smith, your winner. A lot of teenagers there. Jesse Love, Taylor Gray, Raja Caruth was able to come back and finish top 5 as teammate 6th. Shout out to Brad Smith, the Michigander, as Jim would say, with a top 10. But what a great night for Tom Hessert in second. I wanted to go back to him.
Great.
Welcome back, Tom.
Great job.
Mike.
And Tom is still debriefing with his team. Big smile on his face. What a run. Tell me about that line you were running. It looked like you were getting awfully close to the apron.
Yeah, I mean, we were a little tight in the center, a little free off, and just kind of searching around a little bit, trying to find something that worked. But Kevin Reed, Billy, everyone eventually brought a great Toyota for us. So, really happy with the day. It's been a while, and come back and finish second is it's a good outcome.
Saw your team took a pretty big swing on it in that final break. How'd the car take off?
It was good. I mean, it's I probably sent us on a little bit of a wild goose chase early on, giving bad feedback, but all in all, it was a great night. Great to be back. It's been a long time, so fun to be up here at Berlin.
What a wild ending. Obviously a heartbreak for Daniel Dye, but Sammy Smith, his eyes were like saucers when that happened. How about for you when you saw what happened up front?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of say, hey, we're going to finish third with whatever it was, 40 to go. It's kind of what I thought it was going to be. And then they said, hey, get going. There's something wrong with the 43. So we got up there second, and it feels bad for Chad and all those guys on the 43, but we'll take second.
Nice run.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tom Hessert brings it home second this evening.
Such a great story for sure. And be sure to join us live for our next race on MAV TV. That's June 25th next weekend for the ARCA Menards Series, Menards 250 at Elko Speedway in Minnesota. Jim, you said you can't wait and the fans have to be with us.
Short track excitement magnified by 1,000. Join us next Saturday. You'll be happy you did.
That was good. Your promo, that was good.
I just like saying stuff that I really believe because Elko Speedway is awesome.
Let's hear from some more drivers. Our third place driver, Jesse Love. Mike?
Jesse Love worked extremely hard today, had a good race car. How would you assess the way the afternoon and the evening played out for you?
Obviously, it was good in practice, leading most practice, but there's no excuse to run like how we did today. So it's obviously not our joint the last 2 years, and we shouldn't run like that. We don't deserve to run like that. So it's definitely frustrating, and we want to get better and go back to the shop, and we need to work as hard as we can on Monday. So we want to come back stronger and not have a night like this again.
And it seemed like the team was taking that approach through the closing laps. I heard Billy Venturini on the radio at times working with you on your exit, and it seemed like the center of the corners and what have you. What were you taking from the words that Billy was giving you over the radio?
Obviously Billy was up in the spotter stand, and being able to see everything is a big advantage. So this place, the line moves around a decent bit, and we're just trying to get every advantage that we can when we're running that hard to finish on the podium. So not our night. We got to be better than that.
Thank you, Jesse. Nice run.
So disappointment because their standards are just so high.
And he's running for the Sioux Chief Showdown Championship. I mean, having a 6th place finish at Phoenix and really getting things cooking here. Jesse Love wants to be in the battle. He wants to be a factor. He wants to be in the conversation. And Sammy Smith right now clicking off 2 second place finishes and now a victory in the Sioux Chief Showdown. That's a lot to overcome with just a 10 race stretch for that $1 million purse they're paying out for those 10 races within this series. Hat dance, no worries. Sammy will take as long as you need to get that smile and the #1 finger in the air. Well done by that team led by Mark McFarland.
And he's been so close. He has the wins in the ARCA Menards East Series, now a win in the National Series, and keeps that Michigan Berlin streak alive, if you will, for first-time winners. But I know that we all want to hear from the driver that is with Mike.
And that's Daniel Dye, of course. Daniel, the class of the field most of the evening. What happened?
Oh man, I don't even know yet. Not quite sure. I know we had a great race car. GMS just did really good in bringing me a good race car and led every lap until we didn't. So it was really cool having Halifax Health and Solar Fit in front of the field all night. I almost led those 2 laps I didn't lead last year. So it's part of it, man. I'm just proud to be a part of this organization, sit on the pole, do so good, and once again, it's just something.
It's a tough one, obviously. How do you put it behind you and just move forward as you go to Elko next week?
Just got to keep our heads up. There's nothing we can do about it. I feel like crying the opposite way that I did last year. Last year was happy tears. This is very much so the opposite. But got a lot of people behind me. I know my whole family's watching at home, my sister, my girlfriend, all my family. So, I mean, it's just part of it, man. I don't know what to say. It's I'm blessed to be in this situation, to be able to be sad about losing. To be in a race car is super cool, and I'm glad to be here. Just wish we could have finished the job tonight, but we'll get him next week.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, man.
Tell you a little bit of something about Daniel Dye. Despite the heartbreak and the disappointment, you know what he was doing just moments before this interview? Signing autographs for young fans.
Great perspective. That's his dad, Randy, right there, giving that consolation because they know how hard they worked to get to this position. Great perspective by that young driver, able to just kind of put it almost behind him already.
Perspective was the word I had to say as well, and I know it gives his dad a hug there on Father's Day weekend. Sammy Smith, you see your winner here at Berlin. We're going to come back right after this. You're watching the Zinsser Smart Coat 200. Sammy Smith is your winner here at Berlin on MAV TV.
The ARCA Menards series is brought to you by Richmond Water Heaters, the water heater experts. Auto Park It. The future of parking is here. See it at autoparkit.com. And by Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive.
Not only is this the first ARCA Menards Series win for Sammy Smith, it's also the first ARCA win for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Mike, you're with Taylor Gray.
Yeah, with Taylor Gray finishing 4th tonight. Pretty strong run. How do you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, we struggled all day, just trying to get a good balance. I mean, just chasing the GMS car all day. Kudos to them. I mean, they brought a really fast race car here 2 years in a row, and unfortunately blew up 2 weeks in a row for them. But we got pretty lucky with 4th there. But we just struggled all day. We just got to keep working to get better.
I do have to ask you about one move you made early in the race. It's a nominee for Sweet Move of the race. You went 3 wide to make a pass. I imagine you remember when it happened. Do you remember going 3 wide and what that was like?
Yeah, the 15 poked us 3 wide, and I feel like track position's pretty valuable here. So I mean, I wasn't gonna lift. So I stayed in it and just I raced hard, trying to stay clean with everybody, and the 15 kind of rolled out of it, getting into 3, which was smart, because if he wouldn't have, we probably would have wrecked. There's a big bump down in the entry to 3, bottoming out and hitting each other. So probably a pretty good smart move on his part. But yeah.
Well, nice night. Absolutely good run.
Appreciate it.
All right. You can hear in the voices of some of these drivers, even though they finished in the top 5, not satisfied. A lot of these drivers extremely competitive and want much more. Krista?
Yes, they are. And let's take a look at those nominees for the Reese's Sweet Move of the race. That's Tom Hesser passing Sammy Smith there. Here's that 3 wide.
Taylor Gray sent it. He said, I wasn't going to back down. What a great move to break that 3 wide run for Taylor Gray. Is he your nominee?
2 good choices. Of course, then there's the pass for the win. Sammy Smith in that 18, overtaking Daniel Dye. That's a keeper too. So go ahead and start voting beginning at 9 a.m. tomorrow. You have those 3 choices. You vote on Twitter at ARCA_racing. Can't wait to see who you choose as the winner. Of course, the winner tonight, Sammy Smith. Congratulations to him. And like you said, yeah, the first ARCA win for Kyle Busch Motorsports.
We're in a summer stretch. Sammy's going to be back with us at Elko Speedway next Saturday night. I can't wait.
Big night for Sammy Smith. He wanted it in Iowa at his home state last week. 1 week delayed, but he will take it. That is for sure. Happy Father's Day to all the dads watching and on our crew, including Mike Massaro and Jim Trado. I'm Krista Kelly saying congratulations to our ARCA Menards Series 2022 Zinsser Smart Coat 200 winner, Sammy Smith, another first-timer at Berlin. The 18-year-old behind the wheel of the number 18 is number 1 at Berlin.